Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, TV Reviews, Connections in Mind, and welcome back to another installment in my review and reaction series to each and every episode of Season 3 of the Orville New Horizons. If you've never seen one of my review and reaction episodes before, this is where I give my brief overview of the latest episode of whichever series I happen to be reviewing, what I liked, dislike, what I thought worked and didn't work, as well as some analysis as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Just to get this out of the way, this would be a full spoiler review and reaction to the latest episode of the Orville New Horizons. So if you've not seen this latest episode yet, I highly recommend coming back when you have, because this will be full-on spoilers from here on out. So with that being said, and without further ado, let's get into the Orville New Horizons Season 3, Episode 5, entitled A Tale of Two Topas. Now, the space element of this episode is really more of the backdrop of the episode, really just to establish where the Orville inhabitants be parked at this point. The episode opens with the Orville orbiting a planet where they're engaged in an archaeological study and trying to get into this burial chamber inside of a temple or whatever. It's booby-trapped and they have to deal with that, so they figure that out very quickly. That's the cold open. But that's just what's kind of going on the planet. That's why the Orville's kind of sitting in one place for a while. The real meat of this episode revolves around Topa, the child of Bortis and Clyden, who you may recall was the subject in episodes 2 and 3. Well, really episode 3 of the Orville's first season, when Topa was born female, which in an all-male society was obviously seen as a issue in that time, and Topa had, not gonna really get that whole episode, but long story short, Topa was converted to male. Now, these years later, Topa is having some mixed emotions that Topa can't easily explain, and he confides this in Kelly because in the same course, because Topa is I guess hanging out with Kelly because Topa wants to looks up to Kelly and wants to take the command course and take the entrance exam to Union Academy. So in shadowing Kelly throughout the day, Topa confides these feelings, and Kelly is obviously torn. Like, all right, I can't just tell Topa what's the truth about what happened, just because there's the parental element, and that whole element is not a easy thing to sort out, and there's also pressure from the Admiralty that don't want to make this stick with it because the Mocklins are still very important, and it's the Alliance because of the whole Kalon threat. So obviously Kelly's been put in a very difficult position. She sees Topa, kind of in a little bit of an emotional downward spiral, and going to Bortis and Clyden didn't necessarily help because Bortis is at least willing to listen, but Clyden is very hostile to even the idea of letting Topa know that he was born female, and that whole thing goes on. However, Topa eventually learns the truth through a surreptitious coded message as a suggestion to look into the classified records of the trial that decided Topa's fate. Also, the existence of Havina, the female Mocklin from that episode, and things come to a head. Topa obviously confronts Bortis and Clyden about this, and it's feelings of isolation, confusion, anger, all that stuff's going on with Topa, and then Topa obviously makes the decision to say, I am female, and I want to get changed back into a female physically. And there's obviously sticky wicket going on with that because according to Union law, as long as, because Topa's a minor, all you need is the at least only one parent has to consent, which Bortis consents. However, the Admiralty says, no, I'm sorry, this is we can't let you do this because, you know, the Mocklins will leave the Alliance if you do this. So Dr. Finn is basically ordered, you cannot do the procedure. Claire obviously doesn't like this, so she says, what if I resign my commission? Then I won't be a Union officer, I'll be a civilian to do the procedure. But it's like, no, that's true, but I think the Mocklins would see right through that. However, Isaac comes up with the solution. She's like, I'm not a Union officer, I'm technically an emissary of the Kalon, that never changed. So, and I'm a computer basically, so I can learn I can download the procedure, Matrix style, into my brain and do the procedure myself. No one will know. So, Ed and Kelly basically give the order. It's like, if you do this, you will do this alone. We can't do this. But if the hypothetical event you did, it would be unfortunate if anyone went to sickbay at this time of the night while you're doing it. So, in order to get around that, they stage a little diversion where they announced that Bortis will be singing for the crew in the shuttle bay, and this is kind of bringing back to a joke from, I think it was it may have been season 1, the end of season 1, where Bortis is about to do karaoke, and he gets interrupted before we actually hear what him sing. But we get to hear him sing this time, and he actually has a really good voice. I just wish that he could have sang, My Heart Will Go On, like he was about to do in that episode from the earlier season, but the song he sings is perfectly fine on that front. So there's that distraction. Isaac and Topa go into sickbay. They're about to perform a procedure. However, Clyden has, intuited that, I thought you might try something like this, and he tries to stop the procedure. However, Isaac, is able to restrain him. He walks away. The procedure happens. Topa is now a female again. She's happy. However, Clyden decides, he had said in his ultimatums, like, if you get this done, I will leave you, and that's essentially what happens. And the episode concludes with the Admiral, who ordered Claire not to perform the procedure, actually herself comes out to the Orville and reprimands Ed and Kelly, basically saying, you were really, you kind of wormed your way into this situation where, yes, the procedure happened, the Mocklins, they're saving face because they do this, they're not going to leave the Alliance, and because the Kalon did it, they're actually seeing it as, greater resolve to fight the Kalon threat because they see it as, an attack on their values. And so that was the reasoning. It's like, all right, nothing, geopolitical is going to happen on this front. You got lucky. And then the episode ends with Kelly inviting Topa, who still wants to be on the command track. She gets to come up to the bridge, sit in the captain's chair, and give the order for the Orville to depart the planet. And yeah, so that this is an episode, again, much like the first episode in this season, kind of a heavy subject matter, to be perfectly honest. And what part of the thing, now that we're about halfway through this season, I believe there's only going to be 10 episodes in this season. I feel like again, this might change with the last 5 episodes, but so far I feel like, while again not disparaging the attempts to go heavy, not shying away from tackling heavy subject matter, but I feel like the Orville's strength, at least in my opinion, is the way it balances serious topics and comedy. And there were a couple comedic moments in this episode. Isaac, when he's disabling the booby trap, gets when you hit the button, all these metal darts start firing at him. It's like they all bounce off him except for one that just sticks in his head. It's like, okay. And Gordon's in sickbay because he had a bad allergic reaction. It's all messed up his face. It's like, okay, yeah, these are funny, but when the subject matter is this heavy, these attempts at comedy, while I agree that something to break the tension is necessary, they don't really work in this episode. And I feel like so far this season, the balance between humor and serious subject matter seems to, at least in the first 5 episodes, it seems to be leaning, the ratio seems to be going more and more towards serious than comedy. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, it does kind of remind me of what happened to MASH, the series. Because me personally, I really enjoyed the early seasons of MASH when it was primarily a comedy. And yes, it did obviously tackle very serious issues in its episodes from time to time, but it was primarily like comedy. I think it's around season 5 of MASH, 4 or 5, I don't remember exactly when. They changed writers, and the concept of the show kind of switched around, where it became primarily a serious show, but the comedy was kind of sprinkled in elsewhere. The comedy kind of took a back seat a lot of the time. That's kind of what I'm starting to see happen with the Orville in this season, and I'm not entirely certain how I feel about that. I feel like that's kind of a shame. Like, if I come back to these seasons, rewatch, years past once it's done. Again, this might change with the last 5 episodes. I could be totally wrong, but as it stands right now, when I rewatch these episodes, I think I'm gonna have more fun rewatching the first 2 seasons than I am gonna rewatch this one. But again, that's just me. Other people might, see these as, really good, really rewatchable episodes, and that's okay, to each their own. But like I said, the comedy, while I agree that the attempts were necessary, it didn't necessarily work in this episode. The other thing that I think didn't necessarily, it didn't hit me a little weird was with Topa, and the actress that they got to play Topa, her name is Imani Pullum, I believe I pronounced that right, and I think she did a pretty decent job in the back half of the episode. It's the front half that I think it doesn't necessarily work, because I think she's trying to channel Bortis in a way, and Peter Macon as Bortis, he has a kind of a monotone, steady delivery to his lines a lot of the time, and for him that works. And Topa being Bortis' child, I feel like that's it's natural to try to emulate that. However, when Topa's confiding that that she's feeling like these heavy, morose feelings, and she's trying to emulate that kind of monotone delivery, and I don't think it necessarily works in that case. It just kind of makes it feel like a robot's trying to say these things, and Isaac the robot does better at conveying these emotional contexts at times. And again, I'm not necessarily putting the blame on Imani Pullum. I think she did a good job with what she had. However, like I said, the way those lines were delivered in that song, I was not feeling the emotion that she was trying to convey in those moments in that first half. The second half of the episode, much better. I think she does a really good job, especially when she's starting to open up, channeling, when she gets angry. She did a good job on there, and so conveying all these things after the surgery. She feels much more natural on that front, and I think she did good on that. But yeah, that one just kind of struck me as didn't necessarily work as well as it could have on that. However, aside from those little bit of downgrades, the positives, I think, once again, heavy subject matter, and a lot of conflicts across the country and the world on this issue, and it does a decent enough job of showing it in a way that addresses the issue. And again, I'm not going to go too deep into the politics and the feelings on either side of this, but I think it did a good job overall with the storyline and how it proceeded, and really especially I think Adrian Palicki, Kelly, she had a good job in this episode, just really channeling the inner turmoil and the people, how they came together in this crisis situation, really. And I think that was a pretty strong job. But overall, I'd say this episode, while it is a well-constructed episode for the overall, I would say this was not one of my personal favorites episodes of this season so far. But again, that's just me. I'm sure other people will see this as probably one of the best episodes of the season, and I totally get that. Totally get that. It's just this one was not for me this week at least. So. Yeah, those were kind of my main takeaways from this episode. Some things that I noticed that you may have seen before when they open that treasure chamber at the very beginning of the episode. The design of it's only a really quick shot, CGI. It kind of looks like they just kind of did a copy paste of the CGI, tomb design of Cibele from National Treasure 2: Book of Secrets. Especially the temple in the altar in the very center of the room with the thing that looks almost identical to it. So a brief little detail, but I couldn't help but think that. And the main plot things that you may have seen before, I know really it's only the two Star Trek Next Generation episodes that it made me think of. One, this is kind of a weaker one as compared to the other one, but the Next Generation episode, Coming of Age, focuses on these young people trying to get into take an entrance exam to get into an academy, Starfleet Academy versus Union Academy. But both this episode of the Orville and that episode of Next Generation had that plot point, so that made me think of that. But also, more importantly, and probably more all-encompassing, is I feel like this is probably the Orville's attempt at, this is the Orville's version of the Next Generation episode, The Outcast, which that episode also focused a lot on, gender identity in a homogenous society and what the implications are of that, and the ramifications of when one person has those leanings that are against the society after all, and what that means, and how that affects an overall body in policy on that front. So I feel like that's probably the more relevant connection with this episode. But those are my main connections that I found between this episode of the Orville and what came before. What did you think of this episode of the Orville New Horizons? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree? Disagree? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. All the audience I can get. Be sure to look for my reaction to next week's episode of the Orville New Horizons, as well as my upcoming movie and TV reviews. On my next movie review, which will be for Thor: Love and Thunder, which comes out next Friday, July 8th. In my next two TV reviews, which I will be doing my overall season review of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this weekend, I will be also doing my review of Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2, those last two feature-length episodes that are dropping on Netflix this weekend. So look for that and many more things coming soon on my channel. If you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching, but just remember, there is nothing new under the sun, and yes, you have seen it before.